You ever feel guilty about talking about yourself?
Oh, yes.
Yeah.
Oh, yes.
I think you reach a certain point in maturity where like you realize, oh, everybody just wants to talk about themselves. And then you like don't talk about yourself for a long time. I don't know. I feel like we're finally getting on the backside of that now where like we don't talk about ourselves so much.
Or we haven't practiced like the proper way to talk about ourselves. Because
Right.
like people ask you questions about your life, and then like if you feel too awkward to respond, like, oh, I shouldn't be talking about myself. Then
But we're trying so hard not to talk
Yeah.
about ourselves that we're losing the answer to the question that they're asking us.
Right.
I don't know. Has anybody else dealt with this? I hope so, because we're about to do a podcast on it. Welcome to the Let's Quit podcast.
Quitting is not always a bad thing.
If you have the right mindset, quitting can be the most powerful tool you have on your journey to success. It's certainly been helpful for us.
Whether it's flying through hurricanes, building our businesses, or just trying to get to bed on time, we're always trying to level up and improve our lives.
This is the show where we share the lessons, experiences, and friends that have helped us live this incredible life. So let's quit the bad and grow the good together.
All right, so thank you to all of our new listeners. If this is your first time with us, like we are so happy to have you. Thank you for stopping by and giving us a listen. If you've been with us for a long time, 26 episodes, you're the real ones. We appreciate you. If you want to support us, you can go to patreon.com/jennieanddavis and donate whatever feels right to you. Otherwise, we're still a listener-supported podcast. And if you want to share, that would be awesome. Share the podcast with somebody else you think would like it.
Sharing is really the key here.
It is.
I mean, like we would love your financial support, but at the same time, like the best thing you can do for the show is to share it with somebody else. So
Absolutely.
Yeah, we know the show isn't for everybody, but if you think of somebody the show is for, we'd greatly appreciate a referral.
Yeah.
Referral.
Because that's how we get known.
That's a hard word
on
to
the
say.
Internet these days. So, anyways, yeah. So thanks.
Yeah. What have we been up to this week? It's been a long week.
It has been a long week. I guess first and foremost, we went to a wedding this past weekend in El Paso. Some old college buddies were getting married, and only one of them was getting married, but everybody was out there for the wedding, and it was so good to see everybody. It has been years. And we really missed them.
We haven't seen a lot of those people since we graduated, so it was really nice to catch up with everybody, see some faces that, it's been too long. With the military and stuff like that, we just don't get to see each other. Like, nobody lives in the same place.
Right. We all get stationed in different places all across the country. And then, people start to get married while they're stationed in other states, not by you. And so then we go to this wedding, and we're finally meeting, like, everybody's spouses.
Right, because we know the person, but we don't know their spouse because we haven't been a part of their life for the last 3 or 4 years.
And they've been married for years, and we just haven't met them until now. So it was a really good experience. It was a lot of fun. We did not realize that El Paso had that many mountains.
Yeah, neither one of us had ever been to El Paso.
I've never been to West Texas.
It was hot. I mean,
oh my gosh, it was like 105
for the wedding.
The wedding, yeah.
It's like the beginning of June. It's not even that deep into the summer yet.
Yeah. It felt good though. I really miss the dry heat.
Oh my gosh,
I am not a fan of the humidity here in Houston. I'm a fan of the warm weather and the palm trees and the beach and all that stuff.
Both of us are out. Like we perpetually have allergies, and like I don't know, our skin is not as clear as it is when we're living in the desert. So like I don't know, just a couple days in the desert and our faces look clearer. Our noses aren't as stopped up. We're not coughing and choking and gagging all the time.
So like selfish and probably stupid too, but I hate having naturally curly hair and living in humid Houston. I do not have the hair for this part of the state. The desert is where I need to be.
Well, that settles it. We're moving.
Yeah, we're moving. That's it.
We are one day.
We really are.
Yeah. We love Houston. We like Houston. It's what we need right now.
Yes.
I'll just say that. So, but we are open to other options, maybe 5 to 10 years down the road of living somewhere else. But for now, we need to be here, and we're excited here. We got a great community, and there's no shade against Houston. It's just I don't think we're ever going to live in one spot for like 30 years.
I think that's the answer, because we keep saying we're like, oh no, the desert is where our heart is. Like we need to go back, which I mean,
but we're going to get bored of the desert in 10 years,
Right.
So
I feel like we're the type of people who will never really, until we're like old, we will never really.
I don't even think then.
Settle.
I think we're always just going to be moving around from place to place.
Yeah.
So
keeps it exciting.
But at least we get to choose where we go now.
Yeah, that's right. Nobody tells us where to move anymore.
Take that, Uncle Sam. Anyway, please don't fire me.
Please don't fire me.
Yeah. On that note, Eric is gone. He has traveled back to the Wisconsin area. He's gone. That's kind of sad. We
miss our buddy.
It was, man, it went by so fast. We thought, oh man, he's going to be with us for like 2.5, 3 months, but the time just like blew right by. So anyway, that's
so we miss him. We had some good times.
Yeah, we did. But he'll be back. He's coming back. I have hope.
I have hope.
He's coming back.
We'll see him again, obviously. One, because he's family, and two, because we hope we see him a lot more.
I mean, we're trying to hire him, so I hope we see him again. It would be kind of bad if we didn't, but he's probably listening to this. But anyway,
hi, Eric.
In other news, the Stud Stack is full.
Yes.
If you don't know, we have a private Facebook group for other business owners who make things, whether that be woodworking or metalworking or leather, or we have a guy in there that wraps cars, does a lot of vinyl and graphics
signs,
work. Yeah. We got web developers in there. So it's really just for people who make things. It's just a group where people can network and talk to each other and help each other out. And we are officially full.
We have 100 members.
And that's it, because if we start to let it get bigger than that, then people start to lose their voice. People don't know who each other are. We're hoping to get some semblance of stability, and we can carry these 100 members through a progression of like learning about everybody and learning lessons from each other. So we're going to be a lot more intentional. We set out the year saying we were going to grow the Stud Stack. That was our main goal for the year. Well, we got not even 6 months through it, and we grew it to as big as we wanted to grow it. So now we're getting ahead, because next year's goal was going to be being intentional and progressing through with those 100 members, growing the business. But
now we're starting that in the middle of 2021, so we're a little ahead of schedule, which is awesome. I mean, the people in the group are the ones that are going to benefit. So hopefully they can just be intentional with one another and start to grow their businesses and share lessons and stuff, and then they can go on forward from there. And we'll do it again. We'll find new people. We'll do the same thing with them, and right, and we'll let people know as like spots open up. So if we've got like an available spot, anybody who's interested, we've got methods of trying to get in there if a spot opens up. So
if you want to take a look, you can go to studstack.net, and there's an email capture there, and you'll be notified whenever there's a spot open up. So other than that, in the Stud Stack we did a giveaway, which I was not expecting this to be. We're thinking of ideas of like, what can we give away?
So what we do is every month we do like a video chat in the Stud Stack. We get on Zoom or whatever, and we just kind of talk, see how everybody's business is doing, ask questions, answer questions. It's just good to see everybody face to face. Like you kind of lose that when you're on Facebook sometimes. So we wanted to do that. And then we also do giveaways every month on that chat. So we're thinking like, what things can we give people that would help them with their business? So we've done like a gift card to Sticker Mule, so people can get stickers and like business cards or that kind of stuff. We've done Vistaprint. We did a giveaway to I think like Home Depot. We've done book giveaways. But this last month we did a giveaway for a photography lighting setup.
Right. It's the same setup that we use to take our product photography, and wow, people were ready to buy it like the moment we told them what it was. They didn't even want to wait for the giveaway to see if they got it. They were just going to buy it straight away. So I don't know. We're trying to focus on more like utility items, I guess, for the group now, but that's exciting. So I think we're going to be giving away a new MacBook Pro for the next one. I think that's going to be our next giveaway. Because
we found out the new MacBook, we just got one. It is amazing. Like we got one of the smaller ones, and at first we're like, okay, we'll give it a shot. It's got like the new M1 chip, right?
Right. Yeah. If you don't follow tech, like Apple has completely redone the way that their computers work and the hardware inside them, and it's just ridiculously fast. And so we bought one just to see what the hype was about. The hype is real. It's amazingly fast at media work. So if you do any video editing, any photo editing, anything like that,
the exporting and rendering is just so fast.
It's just so much. You don't need to buy the highest end computer you can possibly find. If you do photo and media work, you can just grab this random MacBook Pro and be on your way. So we're going to give one of those away to the group during next month's hangout. So any Stud Stack members that listen to the podcast, you guys got an inside scoop of what we're giving away next. We just ordered it this morning, so it'll be here, I don't know, in a couple days. Anyway, that's exciting. It's just exciting to give back to the group. Like, yeah, we make a little bit of money for like hosting the group and everything, but really like the money is there to make sure that the people in the group are the ones that are committed to succeeding, because we tried it with cheaper tiers and we just got a lot of, I don't want to say riffraff, but like we got a lot of half-hearted people that aren't really serious about running their business, and that doesn't help anybody. If you've got somebody taking a spot in that classroom that's not serious about being there, then the education for the group suffers. So by raising the price, we have weeded out some of the half-hearted people, and only the diehards that really need to like communicate with each other and learn and grow from each other are in the group. So far that's worked out really well, but we want to be able to give back, and these big giveaways are part of how we're trying to do that.
And we wanted to make this next one like a big, really exciting one, because we did get a bunch of new people in the group to fill it up. So we're just kind of celebrating with like a really cool giveaway.
Yeah. Next thing, because I don't have a transition, we have started another batch. We have started another batch of cutting boards. So normally in our cutting board process, we cut strips out on the bandsaw, and a lot of people kick our butts because they say, well, why don't you use the table saw? Well, if you're cutting 8/4 material, it pinches the riving knife on the table saw, and you end up burning the wood, and it's a nastier cut.
And that's more sanding later.
Right, and not to mention the fact that the table saw blade is thicker than the bandsaw blade, so we're losing more material. So that's where I'm getting with the next thing is normally our cutting boards, we cut strips out on the bandsaw to be 1.25 inches thick, and that determines the height of the cutting board. And we have changed that process now to cut thinner strips, because the boards from this last batch were just too big, because we got a better bandsaw blade and we didn't need to take as much off, so the boards were way too thick. So now we're cutting thinner strips, and we're realizing that what we were getting like 45 boards out of so my truck can only hold so much lumber. So when I fill my truck up full of lumber, that was making about 40, 50 boards. But now that we're cutting them thinner, we're going to make, 70 or 80 boards now.
Oh, dang. That many more? Wow.
Yeah. So we're really excited about that. It's just going to be more product that we can sell to realtors and grow our business.
And so the cost per board then goes down, because a lot of our strategy is we are just sending realtors, like cold sending realtors a board for free, just to get our product in their hands. And then, they love the gift. They know what it feels like to get the gift when they give it to their homeowners. And then we call up back and follow up, whatever. But if we can get the costs down for like getting the board out to those realtors, fantastic.
Right. I mean, we say all the time, focus on the money coming in, not the money coming out. So we haven't really optimized our production process for profitability. We've just really tried to make it faster and easier. The money will sort of work itself out. But now we're at a point where we're seeing a huge benefit in the finances of now we've got a cheaper product. And as we start to give more and more away, our business model depends on us giving away some inventory so that we then sell more than we gave away. And it's been profitable for us now, but it's going to be even more profitable for us going forward. So we're really excited about that. Follow up on the packaging. We felt the need to follow up on this because I don't think we're going to pull a video out of it. But a couple of weeks ago, there was a debate between a sticker sealing the paper around our cutting boards in the packaging or tying a string. Team Sticker won. Yeah. Almost overwhelmingly. We were leaning that way anyway.
We were. I mean, we liked the string. It looks really nice. But after we packaged like 20 boards, sometimes doing like 10 to 15 at a time, we're like, oh my gosh.
It just takes too much time. It takes way too much time.
Faster.
It's not that much nicer than the sticker.
Mm-hmm.
I mean,
the string, you mean?
Right. I mean, like everybody had nice things to say about the string, but it wasn't like nobody hated the sticker. No, I don't think anybody said if I got a board with a sticker on it, I would have thrown it away because now it's a terrible product. Like it was, we were choosing between better and betterer. And
you mean best?
No, better and betterer. Okay, I'm not going to say best because there might be something best out there that we haven't found yet.
Yes.
So anyway, we basically just said one day, we were like, hey, how long? We know we're going to go to the sticker. How long are we going to keep tying strings? We know eventually we're moving to the sticker.
Yeah.
But how long are we going to put up with tying the string around it? Then we realized we're being stupid. We just need to put a sticker on there and move forward with our lives. And everybody on YouTube agreed. So thanks for participating in that. That was a lot of fun.
Maybe we'll make an Instagram post or something officially saying like sticker one. Because we have gotten a couple questions.
We might even just take this podcast clip and post that.
Yeah, there you go.
because I don't want to do any more work.
Sticker 1.
And moving on. Speaking of taking clips out of context and not doing more work, we have started chopping up our old videos and posting those on TikTok, YouTube Shorts, and Instagram Reels.
Yes.
Just in an effort to reach more people, get more content out there.
Right, because what we find is people who will watch some of our most recent videos haven't seen any of the older ones.
Nor will they.
Nor will they. And so they'll ask us questions that, we've answered, quite a few videos ago. And so we're like, man, we really need to get like the older content with like the business basics out, to people who are maybe watching us for the first time. And so YouTube Shorts has really been helping us do that.
Right. Well, our big bottleneck so far for production has been editing.
Right.
Like, I mean, we're looking at bringing on a couple editors here in the near future, but really editing has been the choke point for producing more content. But we finally streamlined enough that, and you actually are the one that has started like editing stuff. So it's been really cool to see Jennie take on a new responsibility and to learn editing. And I'm shocked at how much you have picked up just watching me edit for this, 3 or 4 years that we've been doing content together.
Yeah, and I mean the vertical editing is pretty simple. Like, you drag in the video clips from the YouTube videos, and you're just changing the size, chopping them down, and making it into like a coherent story. Because obviously we can.
But that's hard to do. That's not easy.
Yeah, I just feel like we've been doing it for so stinking long that it's like, I don't know. It hasn't been that bad. I've actually enjoyed it. So yeah, I like it. I think it's fun.
I think everybody starts out enjoying editing, and then you just reach a certain point. At least I did, where like I enjoyed editing, but then I reached a certain point where I'm like, I got to go through the same thing.
Oh, I agree.
Over and over and over.
It will definitely get that way. But as of right now, I'm just going to enjoy the phase where I'm like, oh, this is kind of cool.
Well, I don't know. I've started enjoying editing now that we're focusing on storytelling more in our YouTube videos. Because now I'm not focused on the editing and just chopping through a video. I'm trying to tell a good story. So as I like move clips around and stuff that I've already edited the sequences together, I don't know. I just like the storytelling aspect of it now. So I guess you just that's with anything. You got to keep finding ways to keep it interesting for yourself without getting bored with the hobby. Drew Fisher says all the time that he doesn't say it all the time. He said it in a couple of podcasts, so therefore it's all the time. But Drew Fisher has said before that woodworking is one of the few hobbies he's ever run into where he's just not gotten bored.
Yeah.
And that's why he continues to do it. So.
All right, so Davis, read us the quote this time. Ooh. Usually I read it. It's your turn.
It's my turn?
Yeah.
All right, so to quote the infamous Snoop Dogg, it ain't no fun if the homies can't have none.
Perfect. I love it.
So basically what we mean with the quote is like, you go through lessons and experiences, and it's incredibly selfish to keep those to yourself. We sort of talked about that a little bit last week on the podcast. Which, spoiler, one of the action steps this week is to go back and listen to last week's podcast if you haven't. So you can get ahead and go listen to that one for more context. But basically today's title is Quit Being Humble. If somebody's asking you for help, you need to let them know your experience. Don't downplay it. There's really what we find there's 2 reasons that people don't talk about themselves. Number 1, they either have crippling low self-confidence, or number 2, they are trying not to talk about themselves. And therefore they end up not answering the question that somebody's asking.
They fear that that person's going to interpret them as cocky, or maybe, I don't know. But
more times than not, people are looking to you for confidence and expertise in that arena. And if you're trying to be humble, or because that's the disguise we hide behind, either if you're insecure or if you just really have learned the lesson of not talking about yourself, you hide behind that. Well, I'm just being humble. I'm just showing humility. That's not it. So we got a couple stories to sort of put this in perspective. One is from my experience, and one is from Jennie's. Jennie and I both suffer from one of those afflictions. Mine is that I have learned to not talk about myself. I'm not great at it, but that is my default way of engaging with other people, is I'm trying very hard to consciously not talk about myself, because left to my own devices, I will hijack every single conversation and make it all about me. So, I'm sort of caught in this space now where I'm trying so hard not to talk to people that I'm actually not giving people the advice they're asking me for. So I'll give a quick story on that. At this wedding that we were just at, There was the guy getting married was an F-16 pilot. So there was a bunch of F-16 pilots there. We knew some of them. We didn't know a couple others, but they're still active duty military. And you reach a point in time where you realize that active duty military is a grindstone that you no longer want to work behind. It's fun for a while. You get to do some really amazing, incredible things, but it's a very taxing job, and you don't need to do it for very long before you realize, like, hey, this isn't sustainable long term. So what I'm getting at with this is that a couple people came up to us, me and Jennie, and were like, oh, you guys are in the hurricane hunters, right? And I was like, yeah, man, we are. And so, like, I'm trying to downplay that because, like, let's be honest, like, the hurricane hunters is a really cool job. And we only wound up there by the grace of God and a ton of dumb luck. So it's nothing that we did to set ourselves up for success.
We literally did nothing.
And so I feel bad taking credit, or when somebody's like really amazed about it, I get really awkward and weird about it because I don't feel like I deserved it or did anything to deserve it. So I'm just weird there because I'm trying not to talk about myself. But the crazy thing is that these guys are, they're enjoying their job, but they're definitely looking for opportunities elsewhere. And it would be really encouraging to them to hear the story of how, we sort of went through something similar. We had jobs that we hated in North Dakota, and we found an opportunity to get out, and we ended up with our dream job. Like, that's a great story for these guys who are, not having a fantastic time in their jobs, to hear and see the light at the end of the tunnel.
Right, and it'd probably be good for them to hear like what the process looks like to transition from active duty to like a reserve job.
Right, but if I'm standing there like trying not to talk about the story or talk about myself because I'm hypersensitive to that sort of stuff, I've made an awkward situation for those guys where I'm not answering their question. I'm not giving them the hope that they need to be encouraged to, find their own version of what we went through, and hopefully dumb luck find their way into their dream job. So I guess that's just a lot of babbling for me to process the idea that like everyone wants to hear a good success story so that they can see the hope for themselves. And if you're not talking about your own experiences, if you're not talking about how you went like through a really tough time and came out like better on the other side, that's people want to hear that story, and you're depriving them of hearing that.
And I think you're making, as weird as it sounds, I think you're actually making the social situation more awkward by not talking about yourself than like trying to, suppress how much you're talking to yourself because you think people might interpret it as like you being selfish or like prideful or something. Like, you're actually making it more awkward than it would be if you were to just like talk about yourself for a while.
So that bleeds into your story about the low self-confidence. So do you want to talk about that topic?
So I think I talked about this situation like a couple podcasts ago maybe, but I was at work I think a month ago or a couple months ago, and we were all sitting like in a conference room kind of just talking before we were going to go out and fly, and somebody I had never met before, he's been in the unit for a while, but that was my first time meeting him. He's like, hey, you guys woodwork, right? And I'm like, oh yeah, we did. We started woodworking in North Dakota, and somebody's like, yeah, and they like have a YouTube channel, and he's like, whoa, that's awesome. And he's like, so you build a lot? And I was like, yeah, we build quite a few things. And so he's like, oh, what tools do you use? He's like, cause I really want to get into woodworking. And I'm like, yeah. So I kind of told him some of the tools we used, but then he started asking more about like how we got on YouTube and how we, started a business and how we learned to batch things out. And so I'm kind of like, I don't want to like just talk about myself for the next 10 minutes because that's how long that story like might take with his questions included. But also, like, he wants to know, like, how did you buy your tools? What did you buy first?
Right, but you're struggling with this because of, like, low self-confidence. You don't feel like you're good at those things.
Right.
Even though objectively you are.
Right, because I'm like, oh, well, I'm not special. I'm not even really that good at building. Like, I'm not really even that good at YouTube, but, like, I guess here's some of my like low level skills.
Right. So your low self-confidence is actually hurting somebody else, which defeats the whole purpose. Like, the reason you have low self-confidence is because you don't want to lead somebody down the wrong path.
Right.
But now you're leading them down the wrong path because you got such low self-confidence.
It is like a self-fulfilling prophecy type
it is.
situation. It is just weird.
Yeah.
I don't know. And you have to like teach yourself to do something completely opposite because you are like, you grow up learning, hey, don't talk about yourself. I feel like in corporate America and both in the military, we've had like several presentations and like briefs on active listening. How do you like engage with people? You make eye contact. You ask them questions about them. You don't talk about yourself. And then we kind of lose the training of like how to properly talk about ourselves.
Right.
Like, for example, if we were to go to a conference that like Gary Vee or somebody was hosting, not to compare ourselves to Gary Vee because he's obviously like, massive and really cool. But like if I was to go up to him and say, hey, tell me the story about how you got into your media business. And all he said was, well, it wasn't that big of a deal. Like I just made a couple phone calls. I'd be angry. I'd be like, what the heck? Like
the venue would want a refund because they paid him a lot of money to share his expertise.
Right,
and
like,
he's
no.
being humble and be like, oh, I'm not really all that great.
I want
guys.
your prideful, full 25-minute long life story answer of
I
how
want to be
you did
inspired
that.
by your story. Yeah. So anyway, those are the two ways that like we hide behind this like humility thing of like, well, I don't want to step on anybody's toes. I don't want to like appear like I'm bragging. I don't want to talk about myself. Or you might even believe that you're not that good at things that you objectively are that good at.
Yeah.
So anyway, that's kind of why that's what we wanted to cover today. And really, if we can just say one more thing, like just focus on presenting your own information in an appropriate manner. I guess that's what we're getting at is don't just like tell stories to one up somebody, or don't try to be so relatable by telling stories about yourself. Because we know like that's a rite of passage. You got to go through that to realize, hey, you are hijacking every single conversation and talking about you. But for those of us that have moved past that a little bit, and we're to the point now where we're trying to help other people and balance the growing and giving aspect, just don't use humility to hide behind because you've got low self-confidence or you're trying not to talk about yourself. Use those situations as an opportunity to inspire others and help other people get excited about the potential of doing something like that for themselves.
Right. And maybe even like practice your wording, or like, hey, I've had this life experience and I learned a lot from it. And I think other people could too. But I don't need to share every detail. How do I summarize the lessons I've learned in like a language that is going to be easy to understand for other people?
Right.
And figure it out in maybe like a few sentences or something.
Right. So we're getting into the action steps.
Sorry.
We took it exactly what Jennie was just saying. We did a deep dive on how to do that in the last podcast. So action step number 1 is to listen to last week's podcast about how to communicate the lessons that you've learned. And then kind of like overlapping, second action step is take inventory of where you are skilled and experienced.
Yeah.
What have you gone through in your life that maybe not everybody has, or some people will go through, and how can you prepare to share your lesson to them so that it's a little bit easier of a time for them? Again, you're not solving the problem for them. Like you cannot communicate wisdom. That was almost the quote we picked for this, but like you can't share the wisdom. You can only share the knowledge. And some people, like Jennie and I, are so stubborn, we find it very difficult to take wisdom from other people. We need to bash our head into that brick wall ourselves a few times before we can learn the lesson. But some people aren't. And when you find those people that are genuinely asking questions, that are genuinely trying to get through something a little easier, you are then prepared to sort of like shepherd them through that.
And I think this helps a lot with like our businesses too. If anybody else is, starting a business with what they make, I know a lot of guys and girls on the stud stack are doing this too, but it's like figuring out a way to talk about your business and like what you sell to potential clients and people around you. I know the YouTube video we put out this week was all about like just changing the, hey, how are you conversation to like answer and say, hey, I actually like started a woodworking business, and telling people about it. I feel like that's a similar situation. Some people might feel uncomfortable talking about themselves or their business in a setting where people typically don't.
Right.
But I feel like that's going to help with sales too, because just learning how to communicate your value and your product's value in a way that doesn't sound super prideful.
I wish every human being, well, I don't know. I was going to say I wish every human being had to do sales, because that would solve so many like life problems for people, of just like learning how to genuinely communicate with others and learning how to like genuinely communicate ideas. Not the terrible used carsman sales kind of sales. I'm talking about like sales strategies, because you start to uncover all these things about yourself that we default do that we don't want to do. Sometimes you don't realize that what you're doing is a problem because you don't even realize you're doing it.
Right.
But like sales kind of forces you out of your shell a little bit to like objectively see yourself from a distance and evaluate your communication abilities. And I just wish that everybody would go through that because I don't know. I just think the world would be a better place if we all had a little bit of sales training.
Yeah. Or could communicate, better with each other.
Yeah. I mean, that's it.
That's really it.
Yep. So thanks for listening. That's our show for today. We don't have any announcements.
No, I don't think so. Other than to go listen to the last, it's like podcast inception. Our action step in this podcast.
Just back it up. Whatever you're listening to right now, you're about to pause it and go on to the next one. I'm going to ask you just to tap the Let's Quit podcast square and go back one more episode. Listen to that one again.
Boom.
There you go. All right. We'll see you on the next one.
See ya.